You ain't really fuck with me way back then, but how about now? Cause I'm up right now, and you simply suck right now. Hey, you would never give me play back then, but how about now? Bitch, I'm up right now, and you suck right now.
Alright, what's going on? Today we got a special guest, a good friend of mine. I actually met him on the street at like 7 in the morning. He's an artist, he's a good dude, he's a East Coast guy. None other than my boy DreuHef. Say what up, brother.
What's good with you?
How you doing, G?
Not bad. Thank you for this. I appreciate you.
Yes,
Doing
sir.
well.
Yes, sir. So what's going on, bro? What you been up to?
Not that much. Like we spoke a little bit earlier, just working, trying to stay focused, getting this art out, trying to keep creating mainly, but nothing too crazy.
Yeah, get
Just
that
be
puppy.
chilling.
Get that. I should have told you beforehand. Just get that puppy like
Right here?
Yeah.
I was just on it.
Yeah, that's straight.
Cool.
Yeah, you working on some music right now?
I intend to,
Yeah.
definitely.
Well, that's what we're about to do
Something
after
recorded.
this.
For sure. I've been prolonging it and like delaying it, so I just have to get it done. I have
Yeah.
to make sure I get it done. The intro almost is like when you introduce somebody, it's like you have to have like a fresh start in the sequence, but we were already flowing, so it's kind of weird to just retract and go back a little bit. But it's cool.
Is. Yeah, well, we just flow right into it. But
Yeah.
what were we talking about right before this?
I was gonna bring like a book of questions that I was gonna ask you specifically. You know,
Next time.
I keep them in my head though, for the most part.
Well, let's talk about you.
Let's
real
talk
quick,
about
bro.
me.
Where you from?
I'm from Bristol, Connecticut. If you know, home of ESPN, home of the Little League World Series.
No way.
Yeah. Amongst a few other little things, but nothing too crazy. It's a town. It's not like a big inner city where you have like a New York or even like a New Haven. But yeah, it's pretty interesting there.
Did you play ball growing up? Baseball?
Yeah, I play baseball, Little League baseball.
Is it super big there? Cause that's where it started.
Yeah, it's pretty big. You know, everybody plays baseball. You grow up and you compete. It's just part of the competitive spirit that town has. Like you grow up watching people on ESPN, knowing that it's right down the street.
Oh, so that's where
pretty cool.
the headquarters of
Yeah.
it is. No shit.
Mm-hmm. But you would never know because they don't. Excuse me. They don't really show too much love to that city as far as like you would think there would be sponsorships and endorsements that they would give out to like the high schools, but not really. Maybe on the back end, at least that, maybe I don't know, but as far as being readily available as a resource to tap into, it wasn't there for us. So
Damn, that's kind of crazy.
yeah.
So I grew up in put it to you like this, bro. My graduating class was like 90 kids. What was it like for you?
90?
It was small, bro.
Your graduating class in high school is 90 kids?
Yeah, bro. I think altogether, like, to include the junior high, we probably had like 600 kids max. That might be a stretch too.
What kind of school was it? That sound like one of them grade schools with the wooden desk and like the teacher got the paddle. Like,
Yeah, it might as well have been that, bro. I would say probably like, I don't know, like 15 years before that, it was probably still that. But it's
rural area?
You know Highway 60? The one that runs like fucking, it runs like that. It cuts Mesa, like you go Chandler and then it's the 60 and then it gets into Mesa.
Yeah.
So if you
I'm
take
familiar. I never had a reason to really go down it, but
yeah, there really ain't one. I'll
There's
tell you
nothing.
that, bro. But it's about an hour and 15 minutes east of here. You should get into the mountains. It's a real it's a small town. You know what I'm saying? Everyone knows everyone. Everyone knows everyone's business.
But it's out in Arizona, so
Yeah.
it's like old Western times. Like that shit is actually like dust and shit. Like
yeah, like if you
tumbleweeds.
went out there, like put it to you like this, bro. My fiance, I was telling her she's from Canada, right? She's from Vancouver.
Mhm.
So I was telling her before, like, I'm telling you, I'm from a small town. Like, it's not too much there. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And so we went. And she's like, yeah, you're right. This is like totally different. But with that, there's good things with it, man. Like I grew up hunting, fishing. I had a 4-wheeler at like 10 years old.
Yeah.
Just out in the mountains.
Y'all can't see his wall right now, but this is the last crib you want to walk into thinking you're tough. I'm just saying, this wall is my angle that I'm seeing right here. You don't even talk is tough. Like, you can't, because you have to think in your brain, is that something that you really want to do?
Well, I'll put it to you like this, bro. I never raised a gun on no one.
Yeah, I would hope not. You know what I mean?
I think it was funny the first time you came over. You looked at the wall. So just so everyone knows, my wall right here, I got all my hunting rifles and shit. And he came over the first time. He's like, "Damn!" And I always carry my 9 on me. And I was like, "Nah, yeah, I just stay strapped." It's just kind of. Well, my dad's a cop, right?
Yeah.
Well, he just retired actually, and then my godfather, he's a cop. Well, he's not just a cop. He's pretty high up in the police department out there. But so I just grew up around that kind of culture and shit. And then especially like joining the Navy, I went to security. I was in security for like a year and a half, and that's basically I was basically a cop in the Navy for about a year and a half.
Yeah, I'm definitely not fucking with you. Trust me, I'm all ears. Yep, sure, absolutely. Anything you say.
We'll talk about that time at In-N-Out, bro.
Oh yeah, that was weird. I try to pay it no mind, but basically, we went to In-N-Out after like just like a drunken session or whatever. But we were standing in line ordering food, and I turn around, there's a cop. But it's not that there was a cop in line. Like, that wasn't weird. The cops have to live their lives as well. But when we took a seat, you feel that pressure when somebody's staring at you. So he was looking, like, 1 time, okay. 2 times, okay. 3 times, okay. Like, now this is weird. Now we have to actually get up out of here. Like, this is strange. And it sucks that they put that much pressure. I mean, if he was being social, it'd be a different story, like a neighborhood-friendly cop. You know what I'm saying? Like, he comes in, says what's up. He knows the people. He knows the workers, employees, and starts chatting. But it was different.
He was just like
he was looking for something.
He was looking for trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah, I felt that too.
And it doesn't help when you're in Arizona and, like, you're the only black person in this particular place, but like in this In-N-Out burger, I was the only black person. Like, as far as I could tell, there was somebody else. They was like mulatto or something like that. Like, he wasn't looking at them. And the cop himself was like mulatto, so it's just strange. Like, my mom always told me not to stare, so there's no reason I'm looking at another man longer than 5 seconds unless, I'm engaged in that dialogue. So, I don't know.
Yeah, it's kind of like how my mom kind of taught me. It's kind of it's disrespectful.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it's like my first question is like, what are you trying to do? Like,
yeah.
What's going on here?
I don't even want to ask those questions. What are you trying to do? Nah. You just have to, like, we took it upon ourselves to just get up out of there. Like, we felt it was getting awkward and shit, so we got out of there.
Hey, that shit smacked too, son.
Yeah,
after a couple beers, that In-N-Out hit
burger,
different.
sure.
I came home, oh man, dude. That was it, bro. I ate and I was out. That tequila had you though. Oh.
Tequila's not my strong suit. Not a big fan. Much rather have gin, so I appreciate you. But not to spin back to the topic, but you said my high school only had like 500 people. Graduating class, my senior class was like 500 people. So, but we have like 4 or 5 high schools in that town. You got Bristol Eastern, Bristol Central, St. Paul's, and it probably changed now. But as far as anybody was concerned, mainly it was like Bristol Eastern, Bristol Central was like the rivalry in the town. And it wasn't huge because, like, up in my grade, I graduated in 2013. Like, so our competition was moderate, you know, like different than a competition where you had Aaron Hernandez and like my cousins playing on the same field at the same time. Like, that was a little more appealing to the eye because, you know, rest in peace to his soul, but he made it to the league after a while, and like that was like the first person we seen come out that city. And you know, pretty much we all are familiar with that story, but
It was CTE, right? That kind of,
yeah, that's what they were
You know?
saying. Truthfully, I stayed away from the extra narratives because I don't know how they spin it these days to make you believe one thing or another.
Mhm.
A lot of people like our town, it's a town. It's a city, but it's a town, right? So a lot of people were talking and having opinions on things that they knew nothing about. So I stayed away from the narrative and I looked up to that whole scene, you know? So I just took what I wanted to learn from it. Truthfully, son, I filtered out the rest of the information that wasn't going to empower me or the situation. So
And that's
Yeah.
that's important, bro, and that's powerful. And I really applaud you on that because, like, we live in a time where people, they don't think for themselves, you know what I mean? And it's like they see one thing on the news or one thing on Instagram, or they hear one story and they don't think to get another source to make their own opinions. So I really value that in you, bro. For real, for real. That's
Appreciate
pretty
you.
dope.
yeah, and there's many of us, I feel like a lot of people feel like that. They hold those sentiments with them, and that's what makes them different in a sense. But I think the pull is so much stronger now to be a part of the collective understanding and what is more popular. Like, it's a very strong pull because you can't really look away. It's everywhere. It's in your face. So everything that people consume, it's pretty much
They're looking
divisive.
they're looking for agreement too. Like,
Yeah.
it's like the more agreement there is, the more real something is. You know what I'm saying? And even if that thing is false, if you have a collective group that agrees on a certain topic,
Yeah.
then it becomes the truth, right? Like, you
Right.
look at like you look at like nutrition in the past 10 years, you know what I'm saying? Like 10 years ago it was, you know, you should have pancakes and this and this and this for breakfast, and now it's like, oh no, you should have fucking eggs and this and this. But in another 10 years they'll probably spin it to something different.
Yeah.
And there's actually, let me read this quote to you, bro.
Word.
This so I was telling you about that self-development course that I did, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Well, this is one thing. You're familiar with Einstein, yeah?
Einstein?
Yeah.
Who's that?
Albert Einstein, the father of modern physics.
Albert Einstein.
You got to know who Albert Einstein is, my boy.
Einstein.
Einstein.
Nah, I know
dog.
Einstein.
Yeah. I'm like, no way you don't know this. All right, so check this out. Listen to this, bro. And this is some crazy shit. So, physical concepts are free creations of the human mind and are not, however, it may seem, uniquely determined by the external world. In our endeavor to understand reality, we are somewhat like a man trying to understand the mechanism of a closed watch. He sees the face and the hands moving, even hears its ticking, but has no way of operating the case. If he is ingenious, he may form some picture of a mechanism which could be responsible for all the things he observes, but he may never be quite sure his picture is the only one which could explain his observations. He will never be able to compute or compare his picture with the real mechanism, and he cannot even imagine the possibility or the meaning of such comprehension. And that's kind of just speaking to, like, we think we know, you know what I'm saying? Like, we go through life thinking that we know stuff, and the brightest minds, whether it's like Socrates, Plato, I forget who said it, but like, the wise man knows that he knows nothing. And I think that's just crazy how we just get shit spinned, you know, whether it's like the Aaron Hernandez situation or what's going on in the world right now, and just the collective agreement of people that, you know, there's just a lack of free thinkers right now. But I do feel like more people are starting to see the writing on the walls. Like, the more people I talk to now, it's like they know that shit's not right,
Mm-hmm.
but there's also those people who just are. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I would hate to place people in a different space that I'm in because, or you're in, for that matter. In this case, I think that it's important that we realize, like, uh, everybody understands to a certain degree, and to like divide people based off of their level of having this information. It's it kind of gives them a better case for why they, you know what I'm saying, like what they did with the kind of what they did with the whole woke thing, like oh, now being woke represents some type of sentiment that has nothing to do with the original intention or concept. But that quote was dope. That quote was interesting because it's a testament to like the scientific method, like applying what you think it could be into real time to see if that is the case. And if it's not the case, you revise it. But you mentioned the food is changing. What they determine what is good or healthy for our bodies is changing because it's a science. It's studied.
In a
Food-
lab, it takes time.
Yes, it's studied, and you have to build your data based off of that scientific method that you employ. So like if you have a theory, that's good to have a theory, but a lot of the times what happens now is people will have a theory and then that's the truth, as you mentioned earlier. And as long as a bunch of people agree with that theory, it becomes the concept what they call group think, right? So now everybody's thinking the same thoughts in agreement with everyone else. But in reality, it takes that one outlier to actually change that stuff, you know? So I think that a lot of people have these great ideas, but I always just hope, like even the invention of all these social medias, like I always would just hope in my heart that these inventions are created with good intention.
So that's your hope, right? But
Yeah.
what's your opinion? Like what do you really think? You know what I'm saying?
I think it's just like religion. Like I think these are great tools to elevate to a place of an enlightened or expanded mind, a spirit yearning for growth. And I think that they're out there as resources for us to engage in. I just think that people OD. Like I just think that's what it comes down to. Like we have these receptors that are wired to love certain things. So if you take a concept and you're like, you know, you're smart, right? So you take a concept and you're like, let's make a platform with a bunch of people. And like, how are we going to get people to like it? There has to be some type of intrinsic value that they receive from being on these apps. So like, why are they going to keep using it? So we're going to make certain labels, like we're going to call it a news feed. We're going to call it feed like cattle. Like, and you're scrolling all day consuming a feed. Like you're going to do these things because but they don't hide it. It's in plain sight.
Yeah, it's the only two. I think it's like the only two industries that consider or identify their customers as consumers are social media and pharma, or something like that. Social media and something
Like
else.
pharmaceuticals.
Yeah.
You're saying.
Yeah. And that's. I mean, I honestly, bro, like you said, it's hiding in plain sight. But even that term right there, feed, that hadn't really even resonated with me until you said it. And I kind of think it just speaks to the testament of like what you were saying about the weaponization of these certain things. And it's not all bad, right? Like, cause like there's certain things that are great. You know what I mean?
I don't think so. I don't think it in itself is bad. Like without us putting a spin on it, I don't think it's bad. Like I really think that it becomes like weaponized because you can utilize it not the people who created it. Even though the people that created it don't want their sons and daughters on it, because they know what it can do potentially, and that's always like something that is on the back burner, right? So I don't know, I just like in my spare time I do write about these concepts and I think about them, and I have something that I'm working on. It's called Who's His Influence. A lot of grammatical errors that I'm doing on purpose, because even language is a formula and a construct that could be divisive. These are all tools. So everything that we pick up along the way, I would just hope that it encourages you to like take your journey seriously and also like live with a light heart. But when it's affecting our children and our women and like our black women and all women, but most importantly like our black women, like they got us fucked up in the game right now. Like they got our people interested and get it how you live. I 100% respect everything that everybody's doing because we're making noise right now. But like there has to be a level of responsibility, accountability, because you're effectively messing up the people that are going to come after you. So all of this scrolling in real time now is like great, like that's good, like, you know, have fun, party up, but like your digital footprint is not going anywhere. My digital footprint is not going anywhere. Your children are going to have access to the information on you and about you and everything that you do. And if you're being glorified for it, they're going to want to be like you.
I was watching a podcast today, or last night actually, and they were talking about this exact thing, about how essentially, are you familiar with China's like TikTok and internet policy? So they have an insulated internet, right? Which means that the CCP controls the algorithm, right? And so what the algorithm pushes in China are like musicians, engineers, you know, like positive things, right? And so what that does, like you're saying, is it develops the youth to find importance in those things, right? And then what they were saying in this podcast is, you look at the West and we have, you know, what it's about in the West is doing dumb shit. Like who gets the most views? The people who do the dumbest shit. And don't get me wrong, there are some great people who get a lot of views, and I'm not, you know, negating them, but it's the truth, man. Like, and that's what's a little concerning to me. And like you said, we got to take responsibility and accountability, and not even on the level of like, you know, corporate America, but I think it comes down to the household and to the parents, and that's where it starts. You know what I mean? Like, you gotta instill those beliefs. Like, if you didn't grow up how you grew up with the lessons that you did, they're not to say no way, but we probably wouldn't be having this conversation. But that's the responsibility, and I applaud your parents for that, because you know what I'm saying, you're an intelligent dude, and that's the way we should be pushing our youth. And it's a little scary, and I don't like to get too into the conspiracy about it, but it does seem like there's an agenda, right? Like, have you heard the term, like they want to keep us dumb and poor so that they can control us? Like, have you heard that?
It sounds about right. Like, sounds like oppression to me. So sounds like the same concept.
So check this out. This is a concept that I heard as well. They said that although slavery was abolished, it took a different form, right? And so now you look at, you know, what people are slaves to money, right? Like if I don't have money, bro, like I'm on the fucking streets, and so I have to work for it.
Of course.
And so rather than back in the old days, and it was wrong, heinous, 100%, but when slavery was around, it was, you know, you worked for a person, and keep in mind, a lot of people don't know this, but Mexicans were slaves too, you know what I'm saying? But they,
I believe
it. You worked, but they gave you food, a house, shelter, so on and so forth, right? Took care of you in that sense. And now okay, you work and they give you money so that you can buy food, shelter, and so on and so forth. And it's just something to like really think about, because it's like, damn, we really are slaves to the dollar. And like you said, that's the culture that's being pushed on. I mean, people can say what they want about Kanye, but like the song "It All Falls Down," right? That is, if you really listen to the lyrics, man, what does he say? He said, "You named your baby daughter Alexis because you couldn't afford a Lexus."
Couldn't afford a Lexus, so you named the daughter Lexus.
Yeah. And he just goes on about, just tainting the youth with these. And it might not be intentional, you know what I mean? Because who doesn't like nice things? I like nice things.
Well, my question to you would be, so would you say that we're indentured servants?
So, for me,
like still?
For me, like, in servants in what way? To like, because for me, I'm
to serve like the almighty, whatever, however they want to spin it, without being so, like you said, you mentioned about the whole conspiracy thing, which I wanted to say, I think a lot of people right now, and we're doing a great job having open discussions and dialogues, but I think what has to occur at a certain point is like somebody, which I know people are doing this, but I think that we need to give them our opinions unfiltered, because that will just show like the truth and not what everybody else is thinking, but what you think, right? So like you have a bunch of people that they're saying these things, but they'll put like this tiny disclaimer before they use the word conspiracy theory. But like if you just use the concepts alone and take apart the etymology, it's like, no, if a conspiracy, you're conspiring. That just means that you're planning, that you have a plan to execute a plan over something or something else. Like if you get hit with conspiracy to etc., you see what
extortion,
conspiracy. Yeah. You establish a plan and you try to execute that plan. Like with projects in the hood, period. Like they're projects. That's what they are. They were a project. It was a plan. Somebody took that and they created a plan to have a project. It's like when you're in grade school, you write down the steps that it's going to take in order to accomplish this goal. So if we're saying conspiracy theorists and all of these theories, like I remember when we were saying that as kids and we were talking about like chemtrails and shit, and like kids were talking to us like, nah, like you guys are just out of it. Teachers, everybody, nobody was. And then you continue to live life. And now it's common information that they use cloud seeding technology. And you might have to bleep that out. But like it's common information that this fuel is injected with certain chemicals, whether it be to grow crops better, whether it be to, you know what I'm saying?
Make it rain.
Yeah, whatever it is, it's being manipulated. So...
And this goes back to the social media thing, right? Because it's a crazy world that we even have to talk, like that we can't, not to say we can't because we are, but that there's the thought in the back of the head, like we have to say the disclaimer, right? We gotta bleep this out. Yeah. But it's common knowledge, right? Yeah. And there's a lot of things like that in the world, bro, where it's common knowledge and you get what's the word I'm looking for? You get hated for it, you know what I mean? But like I was saying, more people are awakening to the truth of like, and not even, because I mean the truth is subjective, but just to the facts, right? To the fact that, like you said, they are utilizing cloud seeding technology for whatever ends it might be, right? Right. And then, the question becomes, why weaponize the word conspiracy theory, right? Or conspiracy, and like and why do these things? And like it's like the weaponization of certain words, like racist, right? Like whenever I was growing up, bro, like if you said that word, like it meant you were like you know what I'm saying? And now it's like just thrown around so loosely, and I'm like, bro, Do you know what, like, have you looked up the definition of what racist means? And you ask people that, and it's so funny, and I don't want to talk down, but people, they just don't have the common knowledge, and that's why I really appreciate, like, you breaking down the word conspiracy or project, because you have to take it to a molecular level of, okay, well, what does this actually mean? Because you don't want to give false testimony to someone or something, you know?
And just like you mentioned earlier, there are different things that are taking new meaning in real time. That's how definitions get created. So they have to begin to shape their meaning, and they're exercised in the world in a specific way, and then they're interpreted a specific way. And now some funny shit. I just remember when, like, it was a thing. This shit funny as fuck to me, bro. Nah, because it's all fun and games until, like, you know, like, white people start doing it, and then it becomes like an issue or a big deal. Like, when people were throwing their ass all throughout my high school years, like even elementary school, even prior to that, like,
you talking about throwing that ass in a circle.
just people just throwing their ass, like that's something that people been doing forever.
Yeah.
So, like, when Miley Cyrus starts shaking her butt, it's like now there's a definition of twerking in the dictionary, and that could be just a Google dictionary, whatever the case is. But then, like, and on a more serious note, like, once people start being influenced by certain drugs and the pandemics hit their communities, like when people are on opioids right now, it's a big blues crisis. So when people are taking these drugs and fat, and then they're dying, and then we look and we're like, oh, the majority of the people that are dying off of this don't look like me. Now we have to have reform. Now we have to get in action. Now we have to make weed legal. We have to make sure that, you know, we can wane them off of this drug by using this one. Whole time our folks are still in jail. They're releasing us slowly but surely, giving us you get first in line. You want to start like these weed businesses. That's cool, but like now you took away some of somebody's entire existence and the time that they have in this world, because whoever it is that's calling the shots on these things, it doesn't seem like it's a being. Like people and people, and I'm just going off, but like people interpret it as like one particular being that's sitting at the top pulling strings, like Geppetto. Like that's the idea. Like there's one big fat white guy that's sitting at the top that's pulling strings, but there's not like this understanding of, okay, so if that is the case, right, why is he pulling strings like this? Why? Is it a matter of survival? Is it a matter of having an advantage over me? I just scrap it up to evil.
I think so. I mean, obviously, like we talked, I pull, like, my faith is in Jesus, right, in the Word, and I do believe, bro, that there is evil, whether it be like entities or whatever the case may be. Like, you know, in the Bible it talks about how, you know, when Lucifer fell, he came down with his angels, right? And then, like, I have this book right here. It's called the Book of Enoch. It's kind of crazy, but there's only two people that went straight to heaven: Elijah and Enoch. And the Book of Enoch isn't in the Bible, but that's on like a whole nother spiritual level, right?
It's a great concept too. I'm familiar with that. Yeah.
So you know how it talks about the Nephilim and like the spirits of the angels that had fallen, and essentially like these angels, demons, or whatever you want to call them now, they taught man the things that we've learned to destroy ourselves, right? And so like you look at, so there's a thing called the Rotunda, and it's in the Capitol building in D.C., and we'll look at it after this, bro, but it's the weirdest thing ever. It has like the forefathers surrounded by angels, and they're teaching them electricity, like certain things, and it's a painting, and it's like it's not just, it's like a cave painting in the sense that it tells a story, right?
Okay.
And to what you were saying, man, I do think that I truly do believe that people are influenced by, you know, and by bad. You call it what you want, but like maybe they're demons, maybe it's a bad energy or so on and so forth. And that's why, like, for me, man, like, it's just about keeping true to God, but to God and not to religion, right? Because like you said, religion can be weaponized, and it has been weaponized. You look at the Crusades, you look at, you know, all the people who have, and I'm not shitting on nothing, but like, you look at the people who've been killed in the name of God, and God doesn't want that. You know what I mean?
That's interesting. Yeah, that's interesting.
And that's the work of man, and I hate that people get such a bad rap on God because of religion. It's like I was talking to this individual, and we were having a pretty intellectual conversation about this. And
individual. Pretty cool individual.
Yeah, cool intellectual, man.
Cool
She really tapped in, right? Really tapped in. And she was telling me, you know, she doesn't like to read the Bible because it's been weaponized. And I put it to her like this. I said, okay, she's really big into crystals and whatnot, right? And so I said, okay, so if a terrorist came to an event and they made a bomb, but the shrapnel was crystals, would you think that crystals were bad? She goes, no. And I said, why? Well, because it was the person. I said, exactly. So my point is that, you know what I mean? It's people that do the wrong. It's not the word. It's like you're saying, words, things, phrases can be weaponized in any aspect of life, and you have to have these thoughts, right? You have to break these things down, like you're saying. Why? What's the reason for this? And find the truth. And you can't be steered away from whatever you believe in. You know what I mean? And it's sad that we live in a world that, you know, that the enemy does that to us. That you know, and one thing I wanted to touch on too that you kind of mentioned is the labeling of things. Like, we shouldn't really and I'm a victim to this too, because I label things all the time, right? But I really try not to. But we shouldn't label things, man, because things are as they are, right? It's not like the whole concept of good and bad. That's another construct, right? Like, what is good, what is bad? It's an agreement of the group of what is morally right or wrong. You know what I'm saying?
And that's why, in addition, like, I'm not on some righteous path. Like, I know that for a fact. I'm not about to sit here and tell the people that are listening, as well as like being able to have this conversation with you, that I'm in a position where I could tell you what it is. Like, I don't know what it is, but like a solution for everything that is going on in this world, that everybody is kind of being victimized to, is to have knowledge of self. Like, I think that's one of the many important things, along with asking questions. Ask yourself these questions and like learn about yourself and what you like and what you prefer and how it makes you feel. And if it doesn't feel right, that doesn't mean it's bad for you, but spend time training your intuition so that when you do have to make those decisions, it's coming from a source of seasoned spirit. Like, you have information that you took the time to accumulate within yourself, so when you do make these decisions, they're in your best interest
and they're informed. You know, it's not manipulated.
Because if there's all of this bad, some people would just say it's just less good. Some people say it's all good and it's just lesser than. Other people say it's bad and good. But you mentioned the labels. They don't speak to what the essence is. The labels can never speak to that. So no matter who's gay, who's straight, who's a girl, who's a guy, who's young, who's old, that doesn't matter. Like, I think everybody that is on this revolutionary path of change, like, we want to change. We want to move forward. We want to evolve and revolve and continue. Like, I think the most important thing we all have to realize is, like, we're all unsettled in our spirits, like, these days. So you having black pride, you having this pride or that pride, lose that for a second. Know it in your heart. You don't gotta tell everybody what you're proud of. If you're proud, you don't have to tell anybody. Maintain that within your spirit.
And like just to revert back to kind of scripture, it talks about how like pride is the devil, right? And that's not in all facets, but like you look at, right, like pride, right? It's kind of arrogance in a sense, right? In the sense of that boastfulness. And how I kind of interpret it is like you're saying, you know, you can be prideful that you're whatever you are, but you don't have to go and put that on other people. You know what I'm saying? Like that is, I don't want to say wrong, but you know, it's
uncalled for.
There you go. It's uncalled for.
I never asked for this. I didn't ask for that. And I could understand like people sitting in certain situations where they had to deal with like all of our people coming out of the woodwork saying, nah, you can't say that. Like, you can't say that. And mainly they're right, because some of you guys got to get it through your fucking heads. Like, certain shit is not flying. If you said certain things in certain areas, you would get touched, paused. Like, you would get your head knocked off. So, like, you have to know, okay, know your audience, number one. Which I don't know. I have no idea where this is going to reach. But, like, number two, I feel like, and some people could interpret this as a cop-out, but just love everyone. And then, like, one of my favorite people that I've studied along this journey is Ram Dass. And a lot of people, if you know me, then you know that. But one of the things that he learned from Maharaji, like his guru, was he would tell him, like, love everybody and tell the truth. And it would seem like a contradicting statement to love everybody and tell the truth, because it is.
But also that sometimes, bro, telling the truth is love. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of times when we look at it like this, right? So like I had this, I don't want to get too detailed, but I had this homie, right, who, to make a long story and a detailed story kind of vague, I have a homie who's struggling with addiction, right? And another homie who, you know, he's just a homie. And rather than my homie, you know, my other homie had offered the other one some drugs, right? Drugs and alcohol. And, you know, he went with it. This guy's a
cop, yeah. You got to keep in mind, this whole family's cops, guys. It's just a disclaimer. I'm listening. Go ahead, go forward.
But he was pretty, like, he was beat up about it, right? And it came down to a place of love where he told me about it, right? Well, he hid it from me at first, and then he told me about it. And I just told him straight up. I'm like, hey, bro, like, you got to ask yourself, like, as a man, is that right? And it wasn't an easy conversation for me to have, right? But that's because I love him. And it's like, I want you to be a better man. So, you know, I got to ask you straight, is that right? And it fucked him up, bro. He was down for like a good week or two, because it really, you know, to know that you contributed to someone's pain, that's a whole nother type of pain. And my point is sometimes, you know, it doesn't contradict itself, but sometimes it goes hand in hand where, you know, if I love you, I'm going to tell you what's real. And regardless of how you feel, I love you, so I'm telling you this. You know what I'm saying? And I expect that from everyone. From me, like, if I'm doing something, man, because I hold myself to a high standard, and I expect other people to hold me to that standard, because that's the only way you grow as an individual. You know what I'm saying? Is a self-accountability and other people keeping you accountable. But yeah, to what you said, man, you know, it doesn't always have to contradict itself, but sometimes it really can. For real.
That's real. Like, I know, like, when you're saying that directly correlates with my story. Like, as I fell into these mind traps and, like, troubles in my life, like, I turned to alcohol a lot. Like, that's something that is very big as an element of, like, it's an obstacle, because it has caused a lot of legal issues. Like, it has caused a lot of family issues and friend issues and relation issues. Like, I'm not too proud to say that, you feel me? So, like, I think if, speaking from that perspective, I could resonate with both sides, right? So being on the perspective where somebody interprets you as something that you know may or may not be true, right? I think the most important thing for you, and you're probably great at this because you hold yourself accountable. And like what I'm getting at is it's hard to listen to people that don't hold themselves accountable for the things that they do as well. And sometimes like it's hard for a person that is turning to a substance to be able to listen to somebody that they can just as easily label their flaws. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I think the main thing in this whole scenario is listening. Like, I just think that we have to listen to each other as well. Like, that's one of the things that are very important for, like, our culture. And everybody may not be saying the right message. Like, sometimes I don't say the right thing. Most times I don't say the right thing. But I think one of the most important things is to hear somebody out, give them an ear.
And
that,
digest it.
Yeah.
And not listen to respond. I think we live in a culture where people listen to respond rather than listen to digest. And like, you know, my thought process is like, and I'm getting better and better at this by the day, right? But let me listen to what you're saying, digest it, and then give you my thoughts rather than coming from a place. Like if someone's responding to you right away after you telling them something, it's probably defense. You know what I'm saying? Because it takes a minute. Like just in our conversation, you know, I'll say something and you'll listen, boom, and then you go, and it's because you're digesting it. You know what I mean? And it's a practice, man. It really is a practice, listening. And like I said, it's something that I'm getting better at by the day. But like I shared with you, man, I haven't smoked weed in 10 days.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And because I realized, man, that I can't be holding people accountable when I'm, you know, and people could say what they want, bro, but I feel like I was at a place where, and not addicted, because I stopped, and I've stopped multiple times, but I put it to my boy like this. I was putting it before God, right? So rather than like me feeling anxious, right? So the reason because I like to smoke weed, and I will again in the future, but I won't be a pothead, right? And it's because I was turning to it like, oh, I'm anxious. Let me take a smoke, right? Rather than like, oh, I'm anxious. You know what? Let me sit down. Let me talk to God real quick and see what's going on in my life. Like, why am I anxious? And since I've put it down, bro, like the world has really cleared up for me, for real.
That's good.
And it's able to make me and let me have these deeper conversations because I'm not a hypocrite. And that's like to what you're saying is it's hard to listen to someone when they're a hypocrite, even if it's coming from a place of love, because it's like,
I didn't want to use that word because I feel like that can be misinterpreted. That's a strong word because that sounds like a defensive word a little bit too.
Yeah,
you know, like when you throw that out, like, yeah, you're a hypocrite. Like that could be in the heat of an argument. Rather build the term than determine what it is at that time. Like,
so what would you I don't want to say like what would you identify that type of behavior as?
Lord, forgive them for what they don't know type energy. Like,
yeah,
because you don't know what somebody's feeling or thinking to put them in that position to make those choices.
Yeah.
And then with all of the external influences that we got going on, like somebody trying to survive in this world, like, and I'm sorry for all the people who have like fell into addiction. Like that's a scary thing. And you know, certain patterns that I have, they resemble that sometimes, like where I can't pull myself out of that constant yearning for something. And then anxiety is another term that's taken a whole new definition as well.
Especially in this modern age.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like if you ever look at words on Google, you Google a word and you look at the frequency that it's been used over the course of time. Like, cause they have like the word, for example, like believe, like you'll look up believe and then you'll see like in the 1900s, believe was used X amount, and it has like a chart, and it just rises. Some words rise, some words fall. Like certain words have these ways of being cycled through pop culture. So I don't know, as far as like what I would say that somebody who has the ability to display hypocritical characteristics, I'll say it like that. Yeah, like rather than you are, as a form of affirmation, you are a hypocrite. Now I'm a hypocrite because I'm telling somebody what they are.
Yeah.
No, he's not a hypocrite. Like sometimes they just have hypocritical characteristics. You're not depressed. You're not depressed. Like, no, that's not your name. Like, your name is not depressed.
You are feeling depressed emotions.
Yeah, you're feeling certain things.
Yeah.
And they come and they go. Come and they go.
And I think that's super important, man. And that's honestly a fucking great distinction, because you know, like, you are what you say you are. It's like that quote, the man who says he can and the man who says he can't is usually both right. And if you say, you know, I'm depressed, you're becoming that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And just for anyone listening, man, like, your words are so powerful. They're so powerful. And, you know, just that distinction of I'm depressed or I'm anxious compared to, like, I'm feeling a feeling of anxiety and anxiousness right now, and or I'm feeling a level of depression in my life right now. But don't give yourself that negative connotation that it labels you, and that goes back to the label, right? It's we have it so jacked up in this culture where we just like we've been talking about, label everything. And I didn't even think about it to that deep of labeling ourselves as such things rather than just the characteristics of our way of being. But real quick, dog, it's about 6:11. You want to record some music real quick?
Yeah, this was a wonderful flowing conversation.
Yeah, bro. Like, we're gonna run it back soon when I get back.
This is very. It makes me happy to know that this is still possible to do. So I'm grateful. Thank you so much.
Bro.
Appreciate you.
Bro.
Hands are a little sweaty at this point, but thank you so much, man.
Yes, sir. All right.
Appreciate
Peace.
it.